Well, hi everyone. I'll probably give it a minute or so for everyone to jump on the live feed here, but today is about saying thank you and giving you guys an update on how things are going. So, if you've been following the story, I guess to give you a backstory, I own an antique store. Usually, I have a bit of a preamble before a video when we're doing our normal videos, but we have an antique shop. And Adam had come in, homeless gentleman. We bought a Bambi animation cell, and essentially we sold it for a lot of money and made things right. So, you guys probably saw the video I posted the other day. And as you're logging on, this is live chat, so please feel free to log on and chat and talk back and forth as we are going live here. So I'll try my best to answer your questions and go through. But really, a big heartfelt thank you to everybody who's been supporting this effort. I wanted to give you guys a sort of a rundown on what happened after I dropped Adam off. So you saw the video the other day. That was just 2 days ago that I was with Adam, and he was definitely floored. He didn't think it was real that somebody would help him. It kind of makes me sad to think that he assumed that people wouldn't help him, and I think he's going to be very shocked when he sees the support that he's gotten for this. So far, we have, with GoFundMe and everybody's support and efforts, raised over 5,000. I think it's nearly $5,500 so far. So that's amazing in 48 hours to get over halfway to our goal. And to explain how we came up with the goal, and when I say we, I just arbitrarily picked that number because I thought about what the average low rental apartment might be in the area that he wants to move to in Ontario, and then how much food and expenses and possibly a plane ticket might be to get back there. So the 10,000 goal is really just to get him a place to live, maybe some basic furniture and some food, and a plane ticket back home. So that's what we're aiming for right now, and that's where the money is planned on going. So that's what the mission is. So very excited about everything that's been going on. My wife Melissa is joining us on chat as well. She's there somewhere. And Melissa, you'll have to answer the chats because they're not coming up on my end over here. Okay. So she's my cohort sitting next to me, and she doesn't want to be on camera because she's shy. So I can't actually see your comments right now. Something's not happening with the feed, but that's okay. Melissa's gonna read off the questions for me as they come along. We're working in teamwork. That's what marriage is all about. It's teamwork. So I'm going to reconnect Adam in just a few days here. He's supposed to come back in the store right now. He's in a motel. He checked himself into a place, so he's off the streets. So the immediate impact of him getting the money for the Bambi cell is he went from sleeping on the streets for 3 years. For 3 years. And if you've been to Canada and Northern Canada, where I am, it's not particularly nice this time of year. Some people have commented on my videos that they're surprised that there's snow already. There is snow, and it is cold, and it was freezing rain. And so that day that we got him off the streets, it was bitterly cold. Our cars were sliding around, and my old car barely started, got it going. So to think that he was just about living on the street that night for another night, as much as he was stoic and he was willing to put up with it, he doesn't have to do that. So he is off the streets right now. So he's warm and somewhere safe, and maybe where he is, there's internet access, and maybe he's watching this. I don't know. If you are, Adam, feel free to say hi. But there's a few things I wanted to say. First off, thank you very much for the support you've given Adam. It restores, a lot of people have said it restores faith in humanity. Honestly, it was just the right thing to do. If you're ever given an opportunity to help somebody, why not take that opportunity instead of walking away from it? And I think the one of the bigger lessons I learned in this is that I've been in that neighborhood now for several years. Had my store there, and as much as I do have an open door policy for anybody to come in my store, regardless of their class distinction or anything, everybody's welcome in the shop. So that's never been an issue there. But there's lots of people in my neighborhood who I never had a chance to meet. And every single person that I met was kind and sincere. Regardless of the fact that they were homeless, a lot of them had wonderful attitudes. And, I said, I'm looking for Adam, and they would stop whatever they were doing, and they'd take the time to try and help me find him. They didn't know why or for what. I was driving my old Volkswagen van, so I guess probably trust a guy in a, turquoise blue van driving around. Nothing bad really comes out of that. But yeah, everybody was super nice, and you learn a lot about people, and they are really just people, just like us, just in a different circumstance. So Adam is a dad. He's a father, just like me. He's just, we're about the same age. We both played baseball growing up. We both had dads that were our coaches in Little League. There's a lot of similarities there. And a lot of people ask me, like, how did you get interested in antiques? For fun, I used to watch Antiques Roadshow as a child. That's probably an odd thing for a kid. That was my favorite thing to do, is to watch like PBS and watch Antiques Roadshow. That was exciting for me. And I think I loved the fact that people had treasure and they didn't know what it was. And for him too, Adam told me he did the same thing. So I think the next steps for me in the short term, I'm going to meet up with him. We're going to try and raise a little bit more money for a little while. So we're halfway to the goal. I really do want to try and get to that 10,000. So with any luck, we're going to get there. But I'm going to invite him to spend maybe the day at the store with me, and I'm going to do my best to share knowledge and information. If he's really serious about this, and I feel like he's got a good talent for finding antiques, and if he's watched Antiques Roadshow and picker shows and stuff like that as much as I probably have, he'll probably know what sorts of things to buy. But I think that if he's up to it, I'll have him spend the day with me at the shop, and I'll kind of show him the ropes of what to look for, and how to judge quality and condition, and how to tell if something's real or fake. So I think we're going to spend a day together, if he wants to, where he can work at the shop with me and spend some time, and I can show him the ins and outs of the business. And if he gets back on his feet, this might be something he could do professionally. There are many people who are flea market vendors or thrift store owners or people that buy and sell stuff full time. It doesn't have to be a career you go to school for or anything, but if I can give him any extra skills to set him up for success when he does go back home, I'm going to try and do it. So I don't know if there's been any comments coming through that I've been missing, but Melissa's been...
They're all just saying that
she's giving me the update.
Supporting you, and one person wants me to hoot like an owl of the world.
Like somebody wants you to hoot like an owl.
I gave
Okay.
a discreet cough for $1 million.
Okay, there you go. I'm getting the update from Melissa. So if anybody has a specific question, Melissa will read it out to me. And I apologize, I can't see your comments coming up on my screen. Something is buggy with the feed. But if you have a specific question for me, Melissa will read it to me, and I'll do my best to answer. So more than halfway to our goal. And every day, I go through, well, it's been only a day and a little bit, I go through and I read the comments, and I love it when you guys send comments. And that's the one thing I really wanted to ask on this video, was that if you have any words of inspiration or stories that you're comfortable telling, or anything that you want me to share with Adam, that might help a guy who's feeling down on his luck and not feeling like he's on top of the world right now, if there's any words of wisdom or advice that you want to pass along to him, I will try and pick some of the top comments that I can, some of the comments I feel are going to be really relevant and nice to pass along, and I will share those with him. And next time when we do the reveal, when I let him know how much we've raised for the GoFundMe, I want to read him off the comments to give him some inspiration and let him know that people care. And strangers aren't strangers once you introduce yourself. So even though we all, myself included, barely knew Adam, you guys haven't met him, but you've seen him on the video, I feel like I'm a good read of a character, and I feel like he's a good guy, and I want to give him a second chance. So if you have any positive comments or anything, please, you can list them below, or you can email us at the store at curiosityedmonton@gmail.com. And I'll put the link down below too.
I have a question from Cassie.
Sure.
Cassie asked, how do you work so hard and still be successful in maintaining such a great family life? I find it hard sometimes to do it all.
That's a great question. Well, I think when we opened the store, we were, my dog has a lot to say right now, apparently.
Sorry.
When we opened up the store, we decided to pick very certain hours that were going to work for our family. So we are open Tuesday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. because I knew that in the mornings before work, I'd probably have to go to people's houses and buy things or run errands. So I'm working, I'm just not at the store. And in the evenings, I want to be at home. I mean, I'm home right now. I'm around my family and around my kids. And, we're doing this live feed, but I'm going to spend the rest of the evening with my kids. And I think that's a great thing about having your own business, is that in today's day and age, I don't think you need, this is my own opinion, I've managed large businesses that have required near 24-hour service and found that the demand really wasn't there. And if you think back to the way things were, in the 40s and 50s, just post-war, people weren't open on Sundays and people went home for dinner. And somehow things started to shift where the family dynamic got lost. And now people have to work 3-4 jobs to make ends meet, and they don't have that family dynamic. And what I'm trying to do with this business is prove that maybe it can. So that's why we try very hard to keep regular hours. And that's why I take Sundays and Mondays off. Sunday's a family day for me. That's a day where I can see my kids and my family and have fun. It's not too much to ask to have, one solid day of family time. And the Mondays, that's where I go off and I go picking and I make these videos and stuff. So plus it helps to have a very understanding wife. That helps too.
One person asked, how do you keep a positive attitude when you go to the junkyards and see all the iconical cars wasting away?
Oh, well, so the question was, how do I stay positive when I see all these beautiful old cars and treasures that are wasting away? I bought a pretty rare car off a guy once. It was called an Austin Shearline, and it looked like kind of a Rolls Royce. It's a British car, very neat looking car. And I think he judged me by looking at me thinking, oh, here's a young guy. And he said, go ahead, wreck the car, see if I care. But he was, as much as he was being a bit of a curmudgeon, and I never did wreck the car. I actually did restore it and it turned out beautiful. The one thing he stuck with me was the next sentence he said, and that was, go ahead and wreck it. All the others will be worth more. And so when I see cars that are in a scrapyard, it really doesn't bother me that much because either there is potential in the ones that are still good enough to be rebuilt, or it just meant that the other ones are rare now, and that just is one of the other cars that didn't make it. So I don't get too attached to, as much as I have an antique store, I'm certainly not too attached to objects or things. What I am attached to are the people I meet, the adventures I have, and the exploration. Even Indiana Jones would find something cool and would go to a museum or go to somebody else. He didn't keep the stuff. So I like having those adventures, and that keeps me positive. So yeah, are there any other questions that came up at all?
There's a lot of comments. Everybody's very supportive.
Oh, okay. Well, I really appreciate the support from you guys, and it's so nice. We've had donations for Adam for the GoFundMe from all over the place. As far away as Germany and all through the U.S. and in Canada, which makes me feel really happy because sometimes, if you haven't noticed, the news can be a little frosty at times, and I think what we forget is that deep down, no matter what our political ambitions or our religious ambitions, people are the same, and people love each other and have been loved and they care, and deep down we're all very much the same. Some have homes and some don't. And I think when you have moments like this that you can monopolize on, you get a chance to really connect people who may have not otherwise been connected. So I feel, if anything, this is really a great thing. I feel honored to be a part of it because I see so many people from so many different backgrounds in so many different, all the religions and all the races and all the countries that care. And it reminds me and fills me with promise and hope that there are so many people out there that are good people and that care. And, we have these moments in time when we have, things on the news that aren't so positive, and sometimes we feel dark and gloomy. But I think if you just know deep down that people are just good at the end of the day, everybody loves kittens and dogs and children, and maybe I'm an eternal optimist, but that's probably the way I'm going to be for the rest of my life. So I'm very glad to take you guys along the adventure with us when we do these videos. The Adam adventure is something totally different. I am sincerely convinced that we're going to try and do our very best to change this man's life for the better. And that's the goal here. The goal is to help change his life for the better. And not just Adam's life. I think about the lives of his children. They're all under the age of 10. His 3 kids, well, he's got one older kid, but the 3 young ones are all under the age of 10. He's only a year younger than me. That's plenty of time to do much good with your life and to do many things and turn things around. So I think there's great potential here, and I just really hope that he builds and forges a great relationship with his kids. But I think the thing that's going to push it over the top is if I can share some inspirational messages from you guys that I can take with me and put in my back pocket and have that to share with him to help fill him with hope too. Were there any other questions that came up?
John Kohler wants to know what's the most precious item you found, but I already know the answer to that one.
My wife? She doesn't hint much, does she? The most precious item.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Well, my wife is the most precious thing to me. The most, that's funny. What's important to me isn't so much the object. When we get close to the end of the year, I'm going to do a recap of what we've sort of accomplished in this past year. And the list is actually getting to be a pretty good one. In terms of special objects we've found, there's been quite a few. I mean, some items that we've picked up have gone straight to museums. If you recall, we came across the royal, and some people aren't big fans of the royal family, so be it. But that car has historical significance. It was a 39 McLaughlin Buick limousine that was used basically to try and convince Canada to join the war effort in 1939. because we had a choice. We were a colony, but we didn't have to join the war. So the king came over and they traveled around in that car. We were approached to sell that car, and Sandy is an avid viewer and watcher, and Sandy will probably watch this at some point, but he's the guy in Vancouver that told the owner of the car to contact me through YouTube, and now that car is in museum and protected forever. So that felt pretty good. We've had a few wonderful, great objects that have come through, and some I've just recently uncovered. I found some translation books from lost indigenous tribes from America, the Tutelo tribe. That's a hugely historical book, and to think it was packed in someone's basement away in with a bunch of receipts and essentially what you would think is garbage. And what's interesting about some of these treasures, and to bring it back to Adam, is that he was saying, well, I don't really, do what you do right now. I just dig through trash. And I said, there's no difference to what you do. We do exactly the same thing. I dig through stuff that people perceive as having little to no value, or things that they are ready to let go of, and buy it. And I said, you're just buying it one step further along after they've decided to discard it. We're both looking for treasures in essentially the same places. So Adam and I are pretty much the same in that sense. We're both in this business, just at different parts of the spectrum. So, I found quite a few things, but I will do a recap. I promise you that when we get close to New Year's, we'll do a recap and walk through all of our greatest finds this past years and some of our better adventures. And I think that this story with helping Adam is definitely a good adventure that I'm proud to be on in my life. Any other questions pop up?
No, somebody said, I like the fact that your family business is about protecting history along with buying and selling items.
Yes, yeah, and you probably notice, and maybe it's a little bit cheesy, but when I do our videos and we try and do the produced videos where I actually take some time and edit it together and put some music and stuff in, if I find something that's really cool and I want to share a bit of history, I try and find, stock photos of it, or try and find some information to go along with it to help teach and share information. And a lot of times you guys will share information back with me and help me learn as well. And I'm not saying I'm an expert on any of this stuff. I'm what you call a generalist. I'm dangerous enough in most areas to know a little bit about a lot. I don't know. I'm not an expert. There are people who know every type of stamp on a coin and every type of dollar bill that's ever been made. I'm not that guy, but I do know certain ones, and I know where to look for information. And I think when you own an antique store, you have to really be a generalist like this. Any other questions pop up?
How's your mom doing?
My mom, that's really kind of you to ask. My mom watches these videos too. And that the last video I posted, it was kind of tough to share that we had a little bit of a rough go growing up. But everybody has moments in their lives where they need to overcome something. And sorry, I get a little choked up. The thing was, my parents both have university educations. It's just, they both have university educations in the arts in an area of the world that really is dominated by trades and people that work in the oil and gas industry. So they didn't have the easiest time finding work. So that's what caused our dilemma. But my mom right now, she's doing as well as a mom can do. She lost her husband very recently. They've been together since they were kids. And, she's doing all right. I go over and see her pretty often for tea. I was just there last night, and, we visit, we chat, we have tea together, and I make sure she's doing okay just so she's not alone. But thank you very much for asking.
What editing do you use for your videos?
Editing on my videos, it's really easy. If you've never done a YouTube channel or edited video together, I have Final Cut Pro on my Mac, but primarily I use the one that comes on an Apple computer, which is iMovie. You can do quite a bit of editing and make a half-decent video with iMovie. So we shoot a lot of video. We have the most recent iPhone you can possibly get. We do have some external mics and some other apparatus that we use, but essentially this goes right from an iPhone right to my computer, edited and on within usually about an hour or so. So it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Somebody said, I saw your IMDb yesterday. Love the frosted tips.
Oh, yeah. You saw my 90s Justin Timberlake-esque frosted tips. I went through a period of time where I had like super short hair for a long time. But yeah, that was, everybody has a moment of hair discovery, and I think that was it. Now I guess I've got this 50s kind of coif going on where I feel like I'm Fred Rogers or something with my Mr. Rogers sweater. But I don't know, I'll fall into my own groove. I'm just happy I still have hair, and I don't have to dye it either. I still have my own hair color. That hasn't gone away yet. So I'm enjoying my hair before it decides to leave me, or gravity affects my hair and it comes out of my ears and my nose and sucks it off the top of my head. So yeah.
How do you find places to pick?
That's a great question. I mean, The most difficult places to pick that I had was when I first opened the store, because I didn't have a really big network of people that I knew to go and pick from. So I had maybe a handful, maybe 5 or 6 people that I knew that had stuff, and I cleaned them right out of pretty much everything I thought was cool. And it still wasn't enough stock for me to open the store. And I also wanted to make sure I had enough inventory, so I would go to every other shop I could and see if they had something. And sometimes the other antique stores have misses where there's a little bit more room left on it. So that's how I stocked the store for the first month. Now, after that, we started to get people walking in the doors. We started to get phone calls. And I think probably the best thing I did is that when I first started buying, I made sure to pay very fair prices for things. I didn't try and pay too little. I let them know what I was going to sell it for, and I offered them what was a fair price. And that really helped word travel fast within the community, that I was a decent place to go through. So I had lots of people coming in that were selling me things. That worked out really well. And even Saturday, tomorrow morning, I'm going over to a lady's house who contacted me. She has a house full of antiques, and somebody in Ontario, which is really far from where I am. If you're essentially, I'm closer to Los Angeles in terms of the US. I'm on the West Coast more, like I guess Montana, Washington-ish, than I am to Ontario, which is closer to like New York and places. So they want me to go to their place and look at a bunch of treasure that they have. And I'm just crazy enough to go and do it. I might actually fly out there because it sounds like they have a really big collection of exactly the type of stuff I buy. And you don't often get, 70-year collections of old gasoline signs and pumps and pedal cars. So where there's a will, there's a way. And if you saw me with the antique store in Saskatchewan, that was a 9-hour drive from where I was. But I went out there and we did our best to clean out all the stuff we thought we could use at the store, and we moved it along. So I will travel pretty much anywhere, and I'll probably make trips down to the States and over to Europe at some point, and who knows. Have to start using my credit card more to save up some travel points on my credit card. The flights are cheaper.
I had 2 people, it might be the same person, but
Okay.
I saw the question before. Have you thought about hiring Adam to work at your store?
I have thought about hiring Adam to work at the store. I think I'd want to take that in baby steps. Because he's going to have to, I think, get grounded with his new reality, which is that he's not on the street anymore. I think where I would get Adam's help with, and I think I mentioned earlier, I would like to have him come to the store with me and work for me with for a day to kind of teach him the ropes. But if I go on an adventure or a pick, or if I need help moving stuff, I would absolutely hire him for sure. I think that in the very near future, though, we will hopefully get Adam home to Ontario. That's the real goal here. So I'm hoping he won't, not as much as I wouldn't hire him, I just hope he's not available to be an employee with me, because I hope that he'll be back home in Ontario with his children.
There's another one.
Yeah, we're just reading the questions off here.
Do you know what happened to the remainder of the antique store in Saskatchewan? When it'll be auctioned, and are you able to name the company that purchased it?
Yeah, I believe that all the items have already been auctioned off. There's only one auction house in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, and that was Yorkton Auction House, or Yorkton Auction Mart. They purchased the contents, and I believe they've already done 3 auctions, perhaps another one coming up, and they've auctioned off pretty much everything. And they've done well. He wrote me and said that he did well and made some good money and found a few treasures, and that's what I was hoping for. We clearly didn't take everything out of that store. Probably the best thing I got out of that store was all the beautiful showcases that now make my store look fantastic after we got them all cleaned up. So that was a pretty good find.
Did you sell the Warcraft?
The Warcraft card. So for those of you that watched the storage unit auction that I bought, and incidentally, I'm not a huge fan of buying storage auctions, especially that last one left a sour taste in my mouth. I just hate the feeling of profiting off of somebody, or even getting, in that case, I got my money back on the stuff. I hate the idea of making money off of somebody who's had a really tough time. That doesn't mean I won't buy a storage unit, but I will only do it on the pretenses that I can help the person that lost the unit. That said, the Warcraft cards, no, I did not sell yet. Those will probably go up for sale at some point. I haven't decided what to do with them yet. I have no way of reaching this fellow that lost the unit. I was thinking about trying to give them back to him, but I still have them for the time being. I did drop off all of his personal belongings at the storage unit, and he did come and pick them up, but as far as I know, he's gone and not in contact with them anymore.
If someone came in, offered to buy your entire stock, would you sell it?
Sure.
No, you just fill it back up.
That's great. I'd fill it right back up. So the question was, if somebody came in and offered to buy everything in my store, would I sell it? Yeah, I would totally do that. And then I would just go on a huge buying trip and fill it right back up again. I do, the thing about having a store is that what I've been trying to fill the store up from the point I started to what I'm trying to carry in the store now has completely changed. Well, not completely. I always wanted to have cool stuff, but I'm almost trying to make my store like a really weird museum with cool stuff that will blow people's minds that you've never seen before. So I want it to be magical. And I did find one of those magic genies from the movie Big, the Zoltar. I do have one of those coming. So that's going to be showing up at the shop soon to freak people out as they walk in my store. And I was joking, there was an older guy that walked in the store and I told him I had it coming in. He was about 70 years old and he said, "Does it work?" I said, "Yeah, but it only makes you 20 years older like it did in the movie." He said, "Oh, I don't want that then. I'm not putting my money in there." Yeah, it should be pretty fun. But no, that my mission, it's so funny. The mission isn't really to have, I guess, an antique store. The mission is to have a store that fills people with wonder, like Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium or something like that. I want people to feel like there's magic in the air when they walk in the store, and we're getting there. So if I sold everything in the whole shop, I would go and find the most magical, crazy things I could possibly find. And that's what I'm trying to look for right now, is stuff that fills people with wonder and makes them ask questions and, is artistic and beautiful. And I don't know, there's, no matter the object, whether it's old or new, and some people say, "Oh, antiques, nobody's gonna be interested in those." I don't believe it. If you've ever met any hipster or millennial, they look like they're from the 1950s or 60s anyway, so they just need the furniture and stuff to match. But I think that all that stuff is going to find an audience still, because if it's beautiful and historic, people love to have a story and they love to have objects in their house that replicate and complement their personality. And I think that will go. People collected antiques forever. Probably since the day something was built, like Thog carved out a log and then it was probably worth more money the next day. Like this has been going on since the dawn of man. So I think that there's a good lifespan still for antiques.
Somebody said they want to. The gist is that they want to have an update in 6 months, just to see how Adam's doing.
Yeah, I want to have a update in 6 months too. I've really debated what that's going to look like. I think immediately the next steps for this part of his journey, he doesn't know how much we've raised, by the way, unless he's found himself in a position where he's near a computer. That might be unlikely since he doesn't own one, but we are over, I think, $5,500, which is amazing in 48 hours. So thank you, everybody who's watching. The goal here is I'm going to meet up with him. I'm going to ask if he has family members that he trusts back home, perhaps his mom, that's going to be helping out with his kids, and get in touch with them and ask. I need somebody on the ground where he's going to be moving. I need somebody on the ground there who's going to help do some work and help him. And then we'll make sure to get the money deposited into his account and get him set up. So I may reach out to, maybe there's an airline, maybe somebody works for an airline within Canada, like Air Canada or WestJet or something, that would like to donate a ticket to Adam. That'd be really great, because then, that's all money that he gets to save and we get to save for him. So I'm going to be trying to reach out to people to see if I can find some people to help sponsor his journey back home, and anything I can do to lessen the load on him and lessen the burden and give him a little extra money in his pockets, I will do my darndest to do it. And we're going to give an update after I chat with him and let him know how much we've raised so far for the GoFundMe. Of course, when we do the handoff of, I imagine we'll probably give this a few week run, like probably about 3 weeks or so of being online, to let people who are catching up with the video. Because if you've noticed, not everybody watches the YouTube videos right off the bat. Sometimes it takes a while before people get to them. So I want to give it a few weeks of honest airtime to get out there and to raise some money for him. And then we'll see what we have when we get there. If it's enough for a good down payment and to prepay some rent for even a half year, at least the guy would be covered. And then it's a matter of furniture and clothing. And the truth of the matter is, I have this vision in my head, and I'm a visual person. I envision that he's got a nice little apartment with some furniture, and there's 3 little beds there for his kids. And, maybe they can watch a movie together on a couch and know that his kids have a place to come visit dad. If I could wish anything for another human being, if I could wish anything for Adam, it's for them to have time with their family, because it's so precious and it doesn't last very long before they grow up. So we're going to try very hard to reach that goal for him. And I'm going to do my very best to write every airline I can, or whether it's a train company or whatever, to help get him hopefully a complimentary flight or a bus ticket or whatever we can do. So we're going to work very hard for him.
How did you get me to back the idea of the store?
How did I get Melissa to back the idea of the store?
How did it actually happen?
The store? There was no convincing. If you guys would like the honest answer, I had a good job. I was a senior manager with a prominent company, and I was doing good work, and work was going well. But I think I reached a point. My dad was really sick, and I was starting to feel kind of depressed, and I wasn't seeing my kids very much because it was shift work. So I'd be home in the morning and gone at night, and I was missing time with my family, and it just felt like I was losing a bit of a grip on things that mattered to me. And so when I talked to Melissa about what the things were that I really loved, first and foremost was family. And we started thinking about the things that I love to do. The things that made me the happiest were going on adventures. I love getting out on the road. I love finding things. I love digging around in people's basements and finding cool stuff. So for her, there was no convincing. The minute I said, I think we should open a store, she was the first one to say, go for it. And it scared me, kind of like when we talked about having kids. And I said, maybe we should have kids. And she said, yep. And I went, whoa, that was fast. So those decisions happen, and they're really big ones in your life. But Melissa's been behind me on this the whole way. And, as stressful as it's been, we took a loan out to buy our initial stock, and we opted to buy the building that we're in. We bought the building that we're in versus renting, because that way at least we're building equity. So we wanted to make some smart moves, but it meant that we had to put a lot of money out. So we're still working on paying that back ourselves. We've got a ways to go, but I'm confident in what we're doing, and I'm confident in my abilities to buy and sell stuff. And if you followed us on Facebook or on Instagram, you see that we get a lot of really cool stuff in the store. So it's really going pretty well. So I'll probably take a couple more questions and I'll log off, because it's been like a half hour. This has gone by really fast, but I'm just like a talking head on a box right now here. So if there's any other questions, I'll probably take a couple more and then I'll log off for the night.
Somebody said the GoFundMe page they see says $6,007 right now.
Whoa, okay, so
But another person said it's at 5,800. So either way, it's doing well.
yeah, and for anybody watching in other countries, the GoFundMe amounts that they ask for, I believe, are in Canadian dollars for you guys too, even if you're in the US. So if it says $20, that's $20 Canadian. So if you put in $20 US, that's probably more like $25 towards Adam. So it actually goes a lot farther. So that's great to hear. If it's up near 5,800 or 6,000, that's fantastic. And this isn't a plea. And I have to tell you one important thing. Adam never asked for anything. Adam never asked for money. He never asked for any help whatsoever. This is me trying to do this for him because I feel he deserved it, but he's never come in my store and asked for it out. He looked at looking in dumpsters as his job, as his way to make extra money. And he came in very professionally and showed me his wares and what he had for sale, and we do our best to buy things. So I respect the man a great deal. He's shown a lot of poise and a lot of character for being somebody who's lived on the cold in Canada in Arctic conditions the last couple of years, 3 years, in fact. I've much respect for him, considering how poised and humble and nice he is. So this is really just out there to help him.
I was just going to say that because somebody said tell him to get a job. But
somebody said it. Yeah, that's the one thing. There's been a couple people who've written, and you've probably seen on the video I put where there's been some thumbs down. And those have been people who generally say, well, look at Adam. He's a healthy guy. He can just go get a job. That's all very well if we forget that our brain is also part of our health. And if you're not in a good place mentally, if you're suffering from depression, which he very well might be, if a person loses their kids in a bad divorce and then loses their house, how could you possibly think that they're ready and able to work? So the body might be willing, but the mind has to be willing too. And so I think what we do is we take baby steps, help him with his self-worth and help him feel valued. We teach him some skills of things he likes to do. If he likes treasure hunting, maybe he was in the wrong career before, as I felt perhaps there was opportunities for me to do things that I loved. Maybe that's the same way he feels. And I empathize and I sympathize with him. And I would never tell a person who's living on the street to just go get a job, because I know there's much more to it than that.
And he's not asking for handouts.
No, he's not asking for handouts.
He's not on assistance.
No, he's not taking any money. So somebody said, oh, he's living off of government subsidies. Yeah. The truth is there are government subsidies, and he's chosen to do this on his own. He's chosen to try and make his way on his own. So he's not even taking money from the government at this point. So for all the naysayers out there who say, he's living off the government and not doing right by the taxpayers, he's not hurting anybody. He's not doing any harm. He's not taking any money from anybody, except for the donation we're going to give him. Then he's going to take a whole bunch of money from a whole lot of people. But that's because I'm forcing it on him, because I think that a man that can maintain integrity, that can maintain his And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the reason why he was so hard to find is because he doesn't generally hang around with a lot of other street people because he doesn't want to be around people with addictions issues. So I think that speaks a lot to his character, that he's managed to avoid being in these situations over the last 3 years. His priorities that he told me were his family, and his kids are the entire reason why he's here. So if there's any person I could think of helping in this whole world at this point, other than my own family, this is the guy that's going to be. So I can't pretend to be able to help every person on the planet, but I can try and inspire people to do the same thing. And setting up a GoFundMe and caring doesn't cost you, the viewer, or me a single dime. All it takes is a little bit of time and a little bit of compassion. But thank you all very much. I'm going to log off now. Again, thank you so very much for your donations to Adam. He probably has no idea where the money is right now. And I think you saw in the video, I said I didn't know if it'd be $5 or 5,000 more. We're past the 5,000, approaching 6 from what I hear from you guys. So much appreciated. Please share my YouTube video of his story, the one that I posted, I think it was yesterday. Share, because the more people that watch that video, the more people will have a chance to donate and support this cause. You know, if there's any way to get a little PR around that, if you can't donate, share the video. That's a way to help. So thank you guys very much again. Much appreciated. And please don't forget to share your personal stories of encouragement for our friend Adam. You can email them to me, or you can add them below in the comments here, or add a comment. Thanks so much again, guys. And we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.